And the first thing that you'll notice is that it calls it untitled spreadsheet. So we don't like that. We want to give it a more specific name. And when you're naming a file, just use as many specific words as you can because you can search for it later. It'll make it easier to find if you name it well. So let's name this kitchen inventory. And maybe it's our kitchen inventory tracker. So let's add that word in there too. Press enter, and Google Sheets is always automatically saving, so I don't have to go to File and Save. Once I hit enter, the name is saved, and everything else that I do as we go along will be automatically saved as well. Now I know I named the file, but let's also name the little table in here. So let's say that what we're going to do, this is our pantry inventory. And hit enter when you're done. And we're going to end up just adding kind of a table of inventory that takes up about this range here that I'm highlighting with my mouse. And we'll just start in the upper left-hand corner. And we designate the names of the cells by saying the column letter first and then the row number. So I'm going to skip a row just to give it a little bit of space. So we're going to start in A3. So just click in A3. The blue rectangle goes around just that cell, so it means that it's ready for you to start typing. And our first column is just going to be item number. It's going to give us a little count of the number of items. Let's type that in again. It just puts this value in the cell, hit enter, and then you're done there. And this is just going to be numbers in a sequence, right? So item number 1, item number 2. But you can stop here because you've already given this spreadsheet enough information where you can autofill the rest of the numbers. So it will recognize a pattern. If you left click and highlight cell A4 and go down to A5 while still holding your mouse, and then you let go, you'll notice there's a little blue square in the bottom right hand corner of the range. If you hover over it, left click and hold your mouse and drag down, go down as far as you want to have your inventory items. We'll just say we're going to do 4 of them and let go. And it guessed the rest of the sequence. So 1, 2, spreadsheet guessed 3 and 4. So you're already saving time as opposed to just writing this out. Now let's do another column. We'll just say this is the items. And you're looking in your pantry. So you have things that are non-perishable, right? You have barley, you have, let's say, crackers, beans, maybe some rice. All right, so let's get into some numbers here. So let's go to C3 and we're going to type quantity. You can shorten it. As long as you know what it means, that's fine. And for barley, we'll say 2. For crackers, 3. Beans, 2. Rice, 5. You count that pretty quickly. That's what's in your pantry. And now we'll say to what, right? So what's the unit here? So we'll say unit of measure. And we'll say for the barley, it's bags. For the crackers, it's boxes. For the beans, it's probably a bag. And for the rice, we'll say it's the instant rice. So that's a box too. All right, so we're getting there, moving right along. Well, let's say you want to figure out the value of your inventory. So we need a price. Let's say it's a price per unit. So for the barley, it'd be a price per bag. We'll say $1.99. Crackers, $2.99. Obviously, it doesn't matter what you put in here. Put any number in. We'll say the beans are $2.40. And you'll notice something happened here. So when I put in $2.40, it decided that I didn't need the last zero because it didn't add anything to the number. 2.4 is the same as 2.40. We're going to come back in and style the numbers in this column so that they all have the same amount of decimals. So let's just put in the last dollar value. Let's say $7.82. Expensive rice for some reason. Let's highlight all of these cells. And then we'll go to the menu bar and you'll see there should be a currency sign for you. So let's just go to file real quick in your spreadsheet settings. Mine's set that I'm in the United States. Okay, so mine's going to default to dollars. I'll cancel out of there. If you were somewhere else, you might see another currency sign here, but I'm going to left click on the dollar. And that did 2 things. One, it put a dollar sign before each value, but it also forced 2 decimal places. So all my numbers are lined up now. They're a little bit easier to see. All right, now we're going to do our first formula. We'll come into F3 and we'll say total price. And I'm thinking the total price should be the quantity times the price per unit. So whenever you start a formula in a spreadsheet, you always start it with the equal sign. That tells Google Sheets that you're going to write in something that's then going to produce a value. So what you type isn't going to be what shows. The result of what you type is going to be what shows. And then when you look right to the right of that equal sign, there's a little gray underline. That's saying it's waiting for you to type. It knows you're not done yet because all you have is the equal sign. So we want to multiply the quantity times the price per unit. The quantity in this case is in cell, so let's go over here with our mouse. I'm not clicking on anything. C4, right? So you just type out C4. The case doesn't matter. I like to make it capitalized just because it's usually that way in documentation, but you can not capitalize it if you don't care. And then multiplied by, so you use a little asterisk above the 8, so I do Shift 8 for the multiply. You don't type an X, it just needs a little asterisk. And then E4. So if you look, both of these cells have been highlighted, and they've been highlighted in the corresponding color. So C4 in the formula is kind of a burnt orange, and that's the color of the border that goes around the value in C4. And E4 is a purple, and this has been highlighted too. Let's go back to C4. You can also see the cell that you've actively clicked in with your mouse in the formula also has the background highlighted in a corresponding color. This formula has already been calculated. See, the blue font here is saying 398, and you've also lost the little gray bracket here, so it's telling you, hey, it's fine if you press enter now. Know that the formula is done and you'll get a value. So let's press enter, 398. So it doesn't show the formula anymore, it shows the result. If you click back into F4 and you look in the formula bar, the formula is still there, or you can double click and see that the formula is still there. You can change it if you want to, but it's not going to show you that formula unless you're in that cell actively. All right, so now we have the total price for the barley. Next thing that we want to do, we want to calculate that total price for all of these items. And this is a very powerful thing that spreadsheets can do that saves tons of time. So when you learn to use them well, you use all of these tricks. So the one thing that we want to do here, let's go back into the cell, is that we want to drag this down similar to how we did the item numbers. So let's left click, drag it down, and let's see what happened here. So let's go down to the bottom. 3910 is the result of multiplying 5 times 782. So Google Sheets is smart enough that it increments the cell references down every time. So once you go down, it would say C5 times E5. You go down again, C6 times E6. It adjusted those formulas for you automatically, so whether or not there were 2 or 200, if you drag them down, all the cell references adapt. Let's do some more exploration on this data, and for that you could use, ironically, probably not ironically, going down the lower right hand corner there's a button that says Explore. If you left click on that, then you get all these options where the AI in Sheets is trying to be smart enough to guess some of the analysis that you want to do. And then as you hover over each one, it's highlighting the data that it's working with. So let's go down to this pie chart. You see this is an analysis of the quantity of the items in your pantry. Maybe a little bit overkill to do a pie chart about your pantry, but let's left click and drag this onto here. There we go. You have a lot of rice. If you hover over it, it's showing the 5 units and the 41.7%. Go in the upper right hand corner and you can edit this chart, make the values whatever you want. So this could be pretty handy, but right now I just want to show that to you, so I'm going to click and just do delete chart. And the next thing that we want to do, you can do it just from this Explore bar, but I'm going to close this so you learn the other way to do it. We're going to just format the data so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. So we'll go to Format, and this table of data will look better if we just do alternating colors. So left click on alternating colors. Let's pick whatever color that we want. Let's say we want it to be this orange color. And pay attention here to these style options. So it does have a header, and what it does is it makes the header a color that stands out. So you can see the difference between the labels of the columns and the actual data themselves. And if you had a footer, you could left click on that. We don't in this case, but you see it made the bottom a different color. Actually, we should do something here. So we're going to add some totals of the columns. We will have a footer. So let's just expand the range. Let's make it for F7 to F8. Click out of there. And then we do have a footer, so we'll keep that option there. So let's just left click on done. Click out of there. Our table's looking better. Next thing you can do is you can customize the width of the columns. And the easiest way to do that, let's select all of them. And if you go to one of the separators between the columns, you'll see that the mouse changes into a two-sided arrow. Here, let's get that again. There it is. If you double click, it automatically sizes each column to the width of the widest piece of data in there. It made it probably fit better, but you'll also notice if you have something like in cell A1 that doesn't really belong to the table, Sheets doesn't know that, and it made this wide enough to accommodate the title of the table. So let's just left click and hold on this and drag it over to the left a little bit more, and that fits better. You can also change the height of the rows. So if I go in between 3 and 4, left click my mouse, it's a similar process, and I'll drag this down to the next row. So I'm essentially doubling the height of this row. I let go. It's not apparent why I did that right away, but why I did do that, let's highlight all of the header. And we'll tell Sheets when it gets to the end of the line, do text wrapping. And then if I make these columns a little bit thinner again, it's going to wrap the text. So we'll do that on price per unit also. This way you can just make it a little bit tighter if you want. I'd also like my headers to be more apparent that they're headers, so I'm going to make them bold. And I'm going to align them in the center. And then we just have to fix one thing here. So quantity got too big and it wraps. So let's just double click on that again. All right, one more thing to style the table. I promise, just one more thing. Here we go. So I want to have a row at the bottom that just makes it more evident we're at the end of the table. So if you go up to borders, left click on that, we'll put a bottom border on this part. It's not an underline, so it's not going under the actual text. It's going at the bottom of the entire cell on each one. All right, so let's say that we want to total up the number of items in our inventory. So we're going to, there's a few different ways to do this. Well, one that you could do, and you might do this if you're a real beginner in a spreadsheet, you just look at this, you say, oh, that's 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 5. And this is great because it's like a built-in calculator in my spreadsheet. If I hit enter, I get the right value. Well, that is true, you get the right value, but if you change something, let's say we change to 2 to 3, it doesn't update the value. It updated the multiplication over here, the total price, because this is just doing a cell reference. But it didn't update this formula. So that just shows you should always do cell references instead of values if you can, even if you can see them easily. So we would change this to C4. And I'm not typing out C4 this time. I'm just left clicking on that cell reference with my mouse. Plus C5, plus C6, plus C7. So this is a much easier way, and it's dynamic. And we're going to come back in a minute and make this even kind of a higher level function that adjusts if you add an entire row later, but we're not there yet. So let's just use this function as it is. And then we'll act like we came in and we found something else in our inventory. So we're going to add a line. So I'm going to right click on number 7 here. And I get this right click menu of options. And one of them is insert one above. So I'm going to insert an entire row. And let's just add something in here. We'll say I found potatoes. 2, and potatoes are cheap these days. And we're going to copy one of the formulas in the total price column, come down and paste it. So this has been added in, but if we come back to our formula where we're adding everything together, and if I double click in the cell, you can see that it didn't automatically add in the C7. But almost every time if you're summing an entire column, you want all the values even if you add or delete something. So that's the thing, a good way to show that, yeah, you can build a formula this way, But the best way to do something like a sum, and this would work for other things too, like a counter and average, is to actually use a built-in function that's made for doing this in a spreadsheet. So let's delete this. Let's go to our entire list of functions. So if you go up to the toolbar, you left click on this that says functions, you'll see all of these hundreds of functions that are available for you, but by far the most common ones are just listed at the top, and we want sum. So let's left click on sum. Come down here, you get this helper text that pops up once you type in the right function name. In this case, we did it from the menus, but you could also just type in SUM and then the parentheses. And those parentheses are waiting for data. So you'll see that same little gray bracket underneath it saying, go ahead and tell me what the formula is. So it starts at C4, and we'll introduce the next concept here that makes spreadsheets really powerful, is that we're going to do a cell range, not just a list of cells. So we're not going to say C4, C5, C6. We're going to say C4 and then a colon, and then extend the range to C8. And if you hit enter, you get the right sum, you get 15. But also if you added something else in here, so let's just insert one above and we'll just put a big number here to C. It's going to pick that value up. So this range extended, we go back into the range, it goes down to C9 now, and it includes everything in between. So using cell ranges instead of a series of cell references, if they're all in a row, that's definitely the best practice. Try to use a cell range. And the last thing that we're going to do, well, let's get rid of that row first. The last thing that we want to do is, let's say that we want to sum up the price. All you need to do is copy the sum function in C9. So I just did Control C, or you could just go to Edit, Copy, and go into F9, and we'll do Paste, Edit, Paste. And now that sum function automatically knows to sum what's above it. So double click in it, it's picking up these values, and you did not have to retype that. So you'll notice a lot of this centers around getting the cell references right. So this next video, we're going to talk about different types of cell references. So we'll have the regular cell references that we just talked about, but then a few other types that you'll use pretty quickly once you start using spreadsheets. And I'll see you in that next video.